Imagine this. The richest people in your country pay almost no taxes. The king spends money on palaces and entertainment. Versailles had over 2,000 rooms and 20,000 servants. And you? You can't even afford a loaf of bread. You work long hours from sunrise to sunset, and still go to bed hungry. Yes, this is France in the 1780s. And spoiler, this did not end well for the king. Let's start with money, because everything traces back to it. France had been at war almost continuously for about a century. The War of Austrian Succession, the 7 Years' War, and then, unexpectedly, they financed the American Revolution. France decided to support the American colonies against Britain. Strategically, it made sense. They wanted to weaken their old enemy, Britain, but the cost was enormous. By the 1780s, France was spending most of its budget just on debt interest. The state was basically using a credit card with no limit, but with no repayment plan. Louis XVI kept borrowing. Ministers kept resigning, and no one wanted to tell the king, the situation is bad. At one point, France was allocating around 50% of its national budget just to debt payments. This wasn't a financial crisis. It was a slow-moving financial disaster. Now let's move to one of the most important points. To understand why people revolted, you need to understand the three estates system in France. First estate, the clergy, the church. Owned about 10% of the land, paid almost no taxes, occasionally made voluntary contributions to the crown. Second estate, the nobility, aristocrats and elites, wealth, titles, and property. Exempt from most taxes, held privileged positions in government and the military. Third estate, the people, merchants, lawyers, craftsmen, peasants, made up about 97% of the population, paid land tax, income tax, salt tax, and many other fees, had almost no political power. As a result, those with the most wealth and land paid the least, while those with the least paid the most. This system lasted for generations. People were born into it and accepted it, until they no longer did. Injustice can continue for a long as no one tells you it's wrong. But in the mid-1700s, this changed. The Enlightenment began. Voltaire criticized the church and absolute monarchy. Jean-Jacques Rousseau introduced the idea of the social contract and argued that power comes from the people. Montesquieu developed the idea of separation of powers. These ideas spread through pamphlets, coffee houses, and intellectual circles. The educated middle class embraced them, and for the first time people were able to clearly articulate why the system was unjust. This was extremely powerful and dangerous. At this point, the situation was a bankrupt state, an unfair class system, a population becoming aware. All that was missing was a spark. And that spark came in 1788. There was a drought during the summer. Then came an extremely harsh winter. Harvest failed. Grain production collapsed. Bread prices rose rapidly. In Paris, some workers were spending up to 90% of their income just on bread. This was not just an economic issue. People were starving. Children were starving. Meanwhile, rumors spread that Marie Antoinette was living in luxury at Versailles. Whether these rumors were completely true or not did not matter. People believed them. And a hungry, angry population is unpredictable. Louis XVI was not a cruel man, but he was unable to manage the situation. He knew the problem, a financial crisis, but he could not find a solution. In May 1789, for the first time in 175 years, he convened the Estates General. The goal was to solve the financial crisis. The plan was simple: bring everyone together and introduce new taxes. But things did not go as planned. The Third Estate, the people, realized the system was against them, and they left the assembly. On June 20th, 1789, they gathered in an indoor tennis court and swore an oath. They would not disperse until a new constitution was established. This event is known as the Tennis Court Oath. It marked the moment the people declared themselves the true representatives of France. The king tried to intervene, but by then the situation was out of control. Tensions in Paris reached their peak. Rumors spread that the king would send the army. People began to arm themselves. On July 14, 1789, a large crowd marched to the Bastille. Bastille Bascune. The Bastille was not just a prison, it was a symbol of royal power and oppression. The crowd captured the fortress. The governor surrendered. Then the situation escalated rapidly. The governor was killed, his head was cut off and carried through the streets. This was no longer a protest. This was a revolution. When the king was informed, he asked, "Is it a revolt?" The answer was, "No, sire, it is a revolution." This is how the French Revolution began, not with a single event, but with long-term economic problems, an unfair system, new ideas, hunger, and a government that lost control. What followed became even more intense. The Reign of Terror, thousands of executions. The rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. But everything started here. In the summer of 1789, when people had nothing left to lose,